Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Doing business in life with a purpose, serving others, and you will achieve success. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to learn how to do business in life to make an impact in the world. How are you going to serve today, and what impact will you make today? My guest today is Mr. Impact. And I want to give a shout out to Cassie Shea for the introduction. But this guy's been very successful, but he's humble, but he cares about people. And you say a coach and they care and they're a life coach, health coach. Well, but not a lot of them do. They're more about the money. This guy cares about you and how you're going to be successful. Cory, welcome to the show.
Oh, Steve, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. I've enjoyed the many minutes we've been talking before we even hit record. I mean, it's been good stuff. So thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
The green room has been on fire, as I say.
Yes, it's been fun.
So in the green room, you talked about historical fiction. It's a great way to start here because it's really your heart. Why do you read historical fiction?
Yeah, so I mean, my books that I read are, I mean, it's obviously I read tons of self-help books because they're fun and I pull from that. And then I read faith is important to me, so I read faith books. And then I don't want to say for a break, that's not necessarily right, but I love historical fiction to read those books. And why do I choose that? And historical fiction, actually what triggered this, even some of this conversation was Boys of the Boat. It's now a movie that's came out, but at the time I read the book, probably 5 years ago, it was, I remember reading it thinking, that book's awesome. Why has it never been a movie? And then there's another one called Battle Under the Scarlet Sky. Same thing. I read about that at the same time. But the reason I love reading historical fiction or in some of those period pieces is because there are incredible stories of just resilience. And I enjoy reading those stories and almost borrowing their courage to pull into my own life of, hey, almost like if they could get through it, whether it was something of World War II or just the different challenges, maybe it's poverty related or, whatever it could be, that, hey, I could probably get through my challenges of the day. So I like reading them, just stories of resilience. They help give me hope for what's to come because, so many of those stories, they got their low points, but yet they're able to, turn the corner and basically to get back up and go. And that's why I love reading those books to draw from their life experiences.
That's powerful because resiliency is hard. It's not easy, especially in this world today. So you're right on. I think of that Lou Laparini, who was on a boat and then a prisoner. That's another coming the same period too. Historical, great story, and they did a movie about him as well.
That's Unbroken, right? That's
Unbroken. Thank you. As you were talking, I was trying to think, great book. Oh my gosh.
What's crazy is I read Unbroken, and then you read Boys of the Boat, and they reference him while because they talk about how this little guy ate so much. Like they had like kind of rations of food, but this little guy who happened to be him, he ate, they couldn't believe how much he ate. So anyways, I'm reading these books and there's these multiple references to this one guy in these different books. It's pretty wild.
That's really cool. The bridges there between the two stories.
Yes.
Like that. So with your coaching and working with businesses, what's your mission when you go out to help your clients?
Yeah, I mean, my mission, and I think to answer that question, is to go a little bit backwards and in the standpoint with, I had a corporate career, 20-year corporate career, and along the way, it took me from a civil engineering degree and I did sales, and then I went from Kansas City to Denver to eventually Cincinnati. There, I led a $120 million division, and I was a little bit in over my head. And during that whole time, Steve, there were times where I lost at home, and there were times I lost at work. And thankfully, and I was able to rebound from both of them. But what my mission is I don't want to see another leader lose at home or at work. It's not an either or, it's a both and. Like, you can have success in the family room and in the boardroom, but a lot of people don't know that. They They've never had a mentor tell them how to do it. They've never had it modeled well for them. And so for me, when I was in this place, it was back about 10 years ago, running this division, I remember like kids on the floor playing. I have my laptop on my lap at night. If I presented to the executive team and went well, I thought I was the man. And if it didn't, I was, afraid I'd get canned. And I was skipping the gym. I was skipping quiet time. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I hired a coach, just quite honestly, just to kind of get me out of that season. I didn't know what was going to happen, but he changed my life. And I know that sounds extreme, but one, it's what I do for a living now. So it did, in fact, change my vocation. But it also just changed me the time I became a better father, a better husband, a better leader, because I just looked at life differently. It wasn't just about the P&L. It wasn't just about getting, more sales calls and let's go get more revenue and more profitability, like go, go, go. I mean, that was still a piece of it, no doubt about it. But it allowed me to zoom out and realize there's more to life than just that P&L. It's, we are put here on this earth to do more than just go generate dollars. And it's how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? How can I be better in my community? How can I do that? In order to do that, we need perspective, we need boundaries, we need, priorities. And that's what I was able to get from a coach. And I've just been doing it for the last 10 years as far as a lifestyle is trying to live that way. And because of the change in my life, and then I took one more corporate role where I was president of sales, and I started helping my sales team this way, talking home and work, and they got better and EBITDA or profitability improved. I was like, I want to go do this for a living. And so that's what happened. Steve, there was this, one point in my career, this is when I was president of sales. And I remember being at this dinner and one of the private equity guys was just talking about kind of basically how loud his new Mercedes was. And showed me the video of how awesome and loud his Mercedes was. And it hit me differently that night. And I walked out and I actually ended up calling my coach. It was kind of after hours, but I knew he was traveling so he could answer the phone, and because he was, not with his family. And I just explained, like, I can't believe this is my life. Like, all I'm going to do is be president of sales, grow companies. Everyone gets, richer. Like, that's it. And he said, put together a vision statement. And I'm like, what? What's a vision statement going to do for me? It's one sentence. Well, he said, just trust me. So I did. And I put together a vision statement. And in my first book, it's called Win at Home First. I give the breakdown of how to put together a vision statement. So for any listener, if as you're hearing me talk and you're burned out and you're like, I need something, do a vision statement. My book has it. The book's on Audible. I guess, Steve, as we're even talking about it, I have a landing page, CoryMCarlson.com/free book. If anyone wants a free book, you got to pay shipping and handling, but you can go get the book just as a thank you to your listeners. But I put together a vision statement, and my vision statement is to connect people to greater performance and even more significant purpose. And I had that towards the end of my corporate career. And so what that meant is when I traveled to Nashville to be with the sales guy or to Seattle to be the sales guy, I was trying to connect them to greater performance. So, hey, how can I help them win at home, win at work? Are you dating your spouse? Are you being intentional with your kids? On the work side, what are the 3 rocks for this week? And are you blocking out time to follow up on proposals? But then connect them to greater purpose. Well, if we could talk faith, we would talk faith. But if not, it's just the title of your podcast, Servant's Heart. Like, how are you serving other people? How are you being kind? So I saw a change. So that vision statement helped me go from a burnout move. And after I saw things like that happen in my own life, I was like, I want to go help millions if I can.
So a vision statement saved your career. I guess
I would, yeah. I'd actually, that vision statement was probably about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Hiring the coach was 10 years ago this past summer. So the vision, the hiring the coach definitely got things moving in the right direction. And there were some other pieces. There's some key frameworks I've learned, but a vision statement was a key piece too.
Yeah. And it's not hard. You had the coach that got you to do it to where you are today, being successful, but more importantly, being happy.
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
the
hey, you say
joy.
it's not hard. Like I had my first call with a client today, and we were talking about somehow we randomly got talking about vision statements. It's not one of the first things I do in my coaching, but this guy runs a $50 million business, and we talked vision statement because he's experiencing burnout. And I said, "Well, have you done a vision statement?" And he said, to exactly your point, Steve, he's just like, "Well, I've heard about them, and I kind of worked on one once, but I stopped." And I just kind of laughed, and because I've heard that before, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, Steve, the reality is there's tons of information out there. There's tons of podcasts, there's books, there's conferences, but we lack implementation where we actually grab a hold of something and implement our life and make a difference. And I personally think a vision statement, not only has it helped me, but it's helped hundreds of clients where it's got them from kind of that sense of wandering to that sense of purpose.
It's the one power of a coach that people forget. Got a lot of coaches out there, like a lot of insurance agents, lawyers, but the coach that helps you take action and make you accountable is the most powerful coach to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of super smart coaches, and that's fantastic. But yeah, there's this quote that I found when I was writing one of my books, and it's Steve Marabelli says that an inch of action is further than a mile of intention.
Mm,
And I just
that's
I just
great.
love that because it's so true. And that's my job as a coach is I don't want just clever information. I want to provide transformation.
And it sounds so simple, but it doesn't happen. It's like a dentist wants to go clean your teeth or fix your teeth, but
Yeah.
they could screw that up. That was their intention, but the action didn't work. Kind of not the
Right.
best analogy, but I get what you're
Well, to
saying.
go on your dentist analogy, they do, let's just say they do clean your teeth. But
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you do between that dental cleaning and the next dental cleaning will make the next time so much different. And, pretty much almost all my clients, they do what they say they're going to do between the calls because they know I'll show up and they'll be high challenge. And eventually it's like, if you're not going to do this, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm not doing, I mean, I obviously I do it for the money to get paid, but there's other clients that'll pay me. If you're just going to pay me and not do it, then let's stop
Yeah.
because I want to see better husbands and better fathers and better leaders out there, not just, a lukewarm leader on the other side of the phone call and paying me. That's no fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing. I've been in coaching programs, you probably have too. It's amazing. People spend thousands of dollars and they never show up.
That's wild. Yes, I know what you say.
Okay. It's, and I was part of one, and 40 of us started, and by a month, it was 20. And by 6 months, I was one of five left. And I showed up every time. And I don't want to get off my coat, but it's like I spent 18,000 for the coaching. Why am I not going to show up? I and I don't want to talk about myself, but I will for a second. I had surgery, minor surgery in the morning, and I showed up. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm alive. I'm awake. I'm not sleeping. I'm not on drugs. I can be
Yeah.
here." And
Yep.
on my
Absolutely.
honeymoon, I'd same thing. I showed up on my honeymoon. Now she was asleep. I wasn't, nothing was planned. So I knew she was going to be asleep. And I spent 45 minutes at the meeting.
Mhm.
And it should not be an outlier. It should be part of our thought process. Like, talk about indecisiveness. I'm not a fan of it.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, I mean, open loops can be such a problem in all of our lives. The different open loops that we have, whether it's kind of big decisions, maybe it's an open loop we think about, all the way to a small decision of, what color shirt should I buy? Blue or black. It's just like those open loops. And so for leaders, it's I try to help them think through all the different open loops they have and then help close them.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, Cassie Shea is the one that connected us, and she's awesome and one who models the servant hearts pretty darn well. But what's funny about her is I'd heard a little bit about open closed loop before working with her, and she's
Mhm.
got such a funny little way to step into open loops. Is she has you open up your Google and see how many tabs are open. It's low hanging fruit because whoever she's talking to is going to have a ton of tabs open, as
Yep.
I did, and was guilty as charged. And you got 10 to 20, and some people have a lot more tabs open. That's just a example of open loops that you have that you're constantly thinking of it. You may not think that they're at the front of your mind, but they're taking up space
Mm, that's a
and
great
working on
tip.
closing them.
Yeah. Why are you different than other coaches?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking. I think a few reasons I'm different is I there's tons of business coaches out there, but I don't think you will be successful in life if it's all about business. You know, you're going to get to the finish line. You're going to look back. You're going to have all kinds of shrapnel. You're going to have maybe a spouse that doesn't know you, or kids that don't know who you are. And to me, one way I'm different is I'm focusing on home and work. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that your marriage is doing well. Your kids not only respect you for being successful, but love you and want to be around you,
Yeah.
and then your employees too. And so it's definitely the home and work piece is in majority of my clients are faith based, so I will weave that in. Not all of them are, but I'm weaving that in, whether it's
Hmm.
scripture or are you praying, or what does your solitude and reflection look like? And so I would say those are the two big pieces. I also another element, I think, for anyone who's looking for a coach out there, you want to find a coach that's going to be a combination of high challenge as well as high encouragement.
I love that. That's a well said. That's a great tip. If people out there listening looking for a coach, it's so simple,
It
and you
is,
can
and
ask
a
those
lot of
questions.
mentors are high encouraging. That's
Yeah.
kind of a difference, and right, so a lot of mentors are high encouraging. There's even coaches that are only high encouraging because they don't want you to stop paying. And so for me, I don't mind bringing challenge because I want to see growth. That's why we're both in this, right? That's why
Yeah.
the client's showing up, and that's why I'm showing up.
Yeah.
And so I
S-
think if for anyone looking for a coach, look for high challenge, look for high encouragement, and obviously chemistry. You want to get
Yeah.
along with them. You're going to be on a journey. You've got to feel comfortable with them, that you can share some of your dark secrets, so you can be vulnerable where you're feeling weak or and what have you, and that coach comes from a position of empathy as well as relatability.
Yeah. What's interesting what you do, and we hear the stories and movies and books of that CEO or business owner that works too much. They work 80 hours, they work 90 hours, but not a lot's talked about. I want to ask you this, that owner, founder, top level guy that's spending more time at home and just letting the business fall apart without having the right system stuff. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think the people I end up working with a lot are there's enough overachiever in them that they're not totally letting the business slide. Like there's enough kind of whatever you want to call it, type A or provide for my family. There's enough going on. Now, is it stable? That's for discussion. And so that ends up what happening for. I mean, I actually do have a client now that you bring it up. It's a great question. Home was doing very well because there's intentionality there, young kids, but then he owns a construction business, and what was missing in those pieces was structure, vision. What's the vision of the organization? What's the values of the organization? Having consistent one-on-one meetings with the team, having quarterly retreats to do planning. So what ends up happening is most people on the business side, they put together the vision, the values, the strategy, and they're very intentional at work, but then they wing it at home. They don't plan date nights. It's cool to hear, Steve, you and your wife have a date night tonight. That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. But many people don't plan date nights. They don't
Yeah.
plan time with their friends. If they have friends, like this is real, Steve. And for the listener, some executives, a lot of executives don't have real friends. They're busy at work and then they come home on the weekends and they want to be, super parent, super spouse. And I can relate to that because when I was president of sales, there was a time where I didn't have friends. Like I had some guys I could call and get a beer with. I had some guys I could go, watch a game with, but it was all surface level.
Yeah.
It was sports and weather kind of stuff. And how's the job going? Well, my coach called me out on it because I told him that my cup felt empty. And he says, it's because you have no one pouring into you. You don't have any friends. And so I put some time into it and basically did like a speed dating, Steve, where I called a bunch of guys. one at a time. I'd go grab a beer or go grab a coffee. And if we just talked sports and weather, that was it. I was like, I don't need much more of that. But for those individuals that we talk about struggles with marriage or struggles with the kids or burned out at work, and we talk sports and weather, I was like, I want more of that. And so I ended up putting together a group of guys. We get together every Thursday morning and we actually do an annual trip to Florida. So it's a game changer for that listener who doesn't have those friends. Man, take intentional. I mean, get intentional, take some action, and you will see a change.
That's so powerful. I'm blessed. I've got two great friends that we text and we read a book together. And I'm seeing what you're saying from the other side, how, if it's missing what I'm
Yep.
missing. And that's so simple. But again, it's not simple to take action. We could
Right.
talk a lot of easy tips here, but Steve, are you going to take action or not? If you don't take action, it doesn't matter. Easy
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
hard. Right. The other book I see behind you, Rise and it's caught my eye twice already. Rise and Go. I love that. Talk more. What's that book about?
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because we talked about kind of historical fiction at the beginning of resilience. I mean, Rise and Go is not historical fiction. It's real. It's real. It's a lot of my life. So I went all into coaching, 100% speaking and coaching, left corporate March 2020. Best time to launch a business, right? March 1st, 2020, my family and I would decide we're going all in into coaching. Well, March 13th, well, COVID hits and the world starts shutting down. And what that looked like for me, Steve, and I know everyone was kind of impacted, much worse than I was. I know there was deaths, and I know people lost their job. I get it, and I'm sorry for all that took place. For us, on March 13th, when the stay-at-home mandates, travel ban, all that stuff kicked in on that Friday, March 13th, which I'm not a superstitious guy, but I think it's weird. It's Friday the 13th, but
It
still,
really is.
moving on. I got emails that day canceling speaking engagements. So that day, 35% of my revenue just vanished. And like I said, other people had much worse situations than what we did. But for us and for our family, I'm the sole provider. 35% was a lot of money for us when I've got 3 kids and what's going to happen with college and what's going to happen with the other 65%. Is it going to go away? And all the uncertainty that we all were living within. I was mad and I was frustrated and I was scared. And for me, I took a leap of faith, leaving corporate to go launch this coaching. And so, and as I mentioned, faith was important to me. That my quiet times weren't really quiet. They were kind of loud and angry. Like, hey, we were doing this together. Like, I left corporate. I found, we did a 50-50 deal where I found somebody to help pay 50% of my income to do sales and marketing for them. And then I did 50% of coaching. Then I got it to go to 75-25 and then 90-10 and then 100-0. Like, I did my part. God, I was doing my part hustling and I grew it to 100-0 and then bam, like what happened? So I got, just frustrated and scared. Well, over the next few months, I got pointed to inspirational stories. I got pointed to just cool story of resilience and of hope. And I started to pull together some content for me. Like literally, like it was helping me get up. I mean, different, scripture, different, I'd hear podcast guests, read historical fiction, kind of like whatever the thing was I was pulling from. I started putting things together and it was helping me get back up to rise and go. And rise and go is actually a phrase referenced in the New Testament in a couple different places. So that's why that phrase is there. Well, what happened, Steve, is I had some clients. I had about 60 clients over the course of the next 6 months in our one-on-one sessions. We're like, yeah, man, I'm really struggling with this, perseverance or rejection or whatever it is. I'm like, hey, I just was kind of writing on this morning, like this blog, or I've been processing this week. Let me send it to you and see if it helps you. And it did.
Wow.
And I was like, well, this got battle tested. So what I did is I put it together as a book and it was published, and it's been an awesome resource to help other leaders. The whole thesis or theme of the book is that all leaders get knocked down. It's just the great leaders get back up quicker. So what could it look like in your life if the next time you get knocked down, you get up quicker? And so that was my story of me getting knocked down. And then I've been able to pull from that book at the back. I'm not the first person to come with a manifesto. I get that. Many people have done it, but I started using one in 2020. So at the back of the book, it's an 8-part framework that the listener can, get that book and put together an 8-part framework of Rise and Go Manifesto. And it's a tool that I still go to. I mean,
Wow.
numerous years later, I'll go to it and look, and I tweak and I add some
Yeah.
stuff to it to make it better. Or here's a new piece I want to add to this particular part. It's I am statements. There's some vision board pieces in there, but it's just been pretty powerful. And actually, just got a text this past week from a guy who he's a buddy who is building out the Rise and Go Manifesto, and it's been so helpful. So, for the listener, if once again on that free book, that book's there too on that landing page. I know will be in the show notes, but
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
helpful resources, because as leaders, we need them, because sometimes when we get knocked down, a setback, it doesn't have to be big. It could be a minor one, like a client said, we're canceling the engagement, or the speaking engagement's canceled. Instead of being knocked down for a few days, maybe you can use some of these tools to get back up a little quicker and in fact, rise and go.
Well, I love that you add the word quicker, because we hear across the board on a lot of books and stuff and people talking, get up, just get up. And that's a good thing. But now you're challenging me in the audience to go, get up quicker. Don't wait a week, get up tomorrow, because you'll get there sooner. Is that what I'm hearing, feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just yes, it's get up quicker. It's not like hey, just get up and brush it off. Be tough. Like it's not necessarily that. It's setbacks suck. I mean, they're hard.
Yeah.
They're annoying. You work to build a mastermind. You get 10 guys in there, and then one drops out. It's like, son of a gun. Now I got to go find somebody else, and it's just annoying. But the longer you stay down, the more the head trash gets going. Hey, you just lost one. Oh, you're probably gonna lose another one. Oh yeah, I bet you're gonna lose another. You probably aren't that good of a coach or a photographer or a podcast host or a sales manager or whatever it is. The head trash just starts building up in your mind, and so it's to start moving forward and start getting momentum. Because once you start getting momentum in the positive direction, well, then things can start to change. And so that's this idea of rise and go is don't get up when it's all perfect, because it's never going to be perfect.
No.
And if you wait too long, it's harder to get up.
Yeah, that's so well said. Well, you got to buy her in a book of me, because that's the next thing I'm going to do when I get off here. Because we need the support. This world is a crazy world. Maybe 100 years ago, maybe Rise and Go wouldn't be, I mean, it'd still be important, but as we sit today in January of 2024, people's listening a year later, we have challenges, but they're always going to come. 2008, the depression in the 20s, my dad lived through. So yeah, this just prepares you, it sounds like, for these down times, which we're all going to have.
Yep, absolutely. And the setbacks can be, huge, like a health scare of you or a loved one, but they could be small and minor. I mean, just today we found out we've got water in our basement. It's like, son of a gun. That's a pain. Like,
Yeah.
I can be, me, and it's a bad day, but it's also like I got to get back up. I mean, I got to get moving and move forward. I can't let water in the basement affect my marriage, affect my parenting, affect how I show up for my clients, how I show up for podcasts. I mean, it is part of life. We will have trials and tribulations.
So no matter what's happening in your life, be at the top of your game as much as you can, or as close as you can to it, no matter what's happening in the past.
Yep.
Because you're right. We got to end here. This could be a 2-hour podcast, but we won't do that to you, audience. Yeah, I could see you going, thinking about the whole time my basement's flooding, and thinking about Steve, just not have energy and because you're not getting paid to do this, but you're getting something from it. So what I'm hearing, stay at the top of your game as close as you can all the time. People are more willing to be a magnet to you.
Yeah, and then back to his servant's heart is
Yeah.
you talk about is it's just look to serve and add value. to the other people. And I can't add value. I mean, no one can if you're not doing well, if you're not getting to the gym or getting your quiet time or having your dates or being with your kids, you feel less than. And therefore, when you show up to people, you're not giving your best. And really, I know as we start to close here, one reason I think winning at home and winning at work is just so important is because if home is not going well, and we've all been there. We all know what it's like when it's not going well, and if you get in kind of a fight in the morning, call it 7 a.m. and get a fight, well, you go to work at 9 a.m., you're still thinking about it. So you may be putting on a pretty face or a handsome face in the meeting, but you're still thinking about it. And then as the day progresses, maybe it fades a little bit, but then it picks right back up come 2, 3 o'clock when you start thinking about going home. It's like, oh, well, when she says this, I'm going to say that. And then she's going to say this, then I'm going to say that. And so in order for us to operate at our optimum performance at work, I firmly believe we have to be winning at home.
I love it. What a great way to end this podcast. What a perfect way. I got a whole page of nuggets of notes and info. So I'm sure somebody wants to reach out to you. How can you get a hold of you?
Yes, my website, it's corymcarlson.com. And then I'm active on LinkedIn. And then, yeah, I mean, I love to connect with anybody. I mean, if anybody heard any of these items, I mean, I guess one thing I'd say is whatever you heard, just do one thing. Like if I said go on a date with your spouse and you're like, you can't even think of the last time you went on a date. Well, maybe that's your prompting. Go on a date or go get ice cream with one of your kids or get to the gym, whatever the case may be, but grab one thing. But if you want more, reach out. I love talking to leaders and trying to figure out how to get them from, that stuck to unstuck, how to get them, moving in the right direction. And love to have a quick discovery call with anybody. And if it works out, amen, hallelujah. And if it doesn't work out, hey, that's fine.
Part as friends, like I always say.
But yeah, that's right.
Virtually shake hands. Well, Cory, thank you. This was incredible. Appreciate your time. I want to thank the audience for listening. As I always say, listen to it a couple times. Put it in your workout, on the bike, on your phone, in your car, whatever, because some of these nuggets don't really get deep enough into you to hear them 2 or 3 times. That's why some people say read a book a few times to get the gist of it. Also, don't forget about my TV show. It's Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. It's called Together We Serve. All the information in the show notes for that. And thank you for the balloons there. Also, too, you didn't even know I did that, but it fired up balloons. Thank you. Also, write a review, leave a comment in the YouTube comments. If it's about Cory, I'll reach out to Cory and get the information to him if you didn't remember the notes or whatever. But love comments, love to hear more about the show. And I'd love to see you all in our next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thank you all.